Rise of the Mages. Let's talk about it. Hi guys, welcome back, bienvenue and all that jazz. It's time to talk about some books. Today we're talking about Rise of the Mages by Scott Drakeford, a debut author with his debut novel from Tor Publishing, I believe, that's coming out today. So by the time you're seeing this video, it's coming out today, February 8th, 2022. And long story short, I definitely think you should check it out. So basically, we're in this world that is very war-torn. There are a lot of different political factions vying for power. There are different provinces that are trying to be brought together under one banner and all of that kind of stuff. Because in the very far past, there used to be these mage kings that basically ruled an empire. And when they faded or went away, there was just a lot of political unrest left over. And so our main character, Emrael, is descended from this line of ancient mage kings. And him and his brother get sent to basically like a military boarding school almost, where Emrael is training to become a master of war because he wants to become the leader of his own contingent in the army like his father used to be. And his brother, Ban, is very talented at doing these things that they call crafting. So in this world, the magic is called infusori, which is basically kind of like these natural fonts of almost like mana, where there are well springs almost of this mana that people can, where they have different devices that can absorb that magic that they can then use for different purposes, such as lighting or weapons or what have you. And so his brother Ban is trying to become a master of crafting because he is incredibly talented at making new technologies that can harness this natural power of infusori. It is thought that the ability to directly tap and access this power is almost like evil or corrupting. The larger populace see mages who can actually directly tap into the infusori power as like, it seems like they get persecuted and hanged, or it's not a good time for them. So like, there's that. But basically, the political unrest in this country starts to erupt, basically. Like, I don't want to say too much more to risk spoilers or anything like that, but that's kind of the gist. I will say that for a large portion of this book, Emrael is kind of obnoxious and irritating, but since it is a more epic, classic fantasy feel, kind of that coming-of-age type story, like, I'm not totally surprised that I found him that way, because I mean, kids can make stupid decisions and be super obstinate and just all of those qualities that are kind of realistic but also kind of annoying at the same time. But he did grow on me over time. And this book is kind of a slower burn for probably, I don't know, maybe the first half or so. You get to learn a lot about our main character, Emrael, and his brother and the relationships that they've formed at the school that they're at. You get to find out a little bit more about how the magic works and things like that, because of things that I won't say because spoilers. But it is a good time, and especially probably around the 50-60% mark, it really started to pick up for me. And then I am a big fan of the magic being kind of forefront in my fantasy, and so this book definitely got there towards the end, when we got to see more of these evil Malefi priests that are basically these foreign magic users that have never actually been seen in the provinces where Emrael is before. Because a different kingdom kind of keeps them at bay, but they basically tattoo their whole bodies, and they seem to follow this god known as the fallen god of glory, and there are some legends around that you'll get some more information about as the book goes on. And they have these ancient craftings that they can basically enslave people's minds. They call them mind binders, but this enslavement is not reversible. It seems to permanently subjugate that person's will to the point where they basically turn into zombies. And so there is that kind of like evil priesthood sneaking in the shadows who worship this mysterious god who we don't know very much about, but he's called the fallen god, so he can't be good, right? So we'll see what happens with that. But you have zombie armies, you have a person whose sole focus, which, I mean, that's one of the things that gets a little frustrating because he is so like narrowly focused that some decisions are made. Like, he made choices. And we'll leave it at that. But overall, I think this was a great book, especially for a debut author with his first novel ever being published. Like, okay, Mr. Drakeford, like, I see you, and I am waiting for book 2. So, just putting that out into the universe. But now we'll kind of get into a little bit more specifics of the review. This will still remain non-spoilery, but I'll talk about a little bit more about the magic and world building, the characters, and the plot. So, magic and world building. There's not a ton of world building in this first book. There is some, and especially since our main character spends a lot of time in this school setting, we do get some information about the world and the political machinations and stuff kind of going on in the background via that kind of student mechanism as he's learning more about himself and potentially any abilities he may have and that kind of thing. So that's the main mechanism we have for our world building in this book, which is fine. There was enough here that I'm intrigued. We got little hints and snippets of ancient events and things like that that really get you intrigued. And so I think that the world is much more detailed and full of depth than we get to see in this first book, but we do get enough hints of it that I am excited to continue on with book 2 whenever that may come out. And as far as the magic system goes, it's kind of a more traditional type magic system. So there is like natural mana in the world that people with mage-like abilities can tap into, and that magic can be stored in items called coils, where the mages can then draw the magic out of the coils to do different things. So like, you can turn a wall, you can make a hole in the wall, you can make special mechanisms that only activate with magic that will open hidden doors and like that kind of thing. So it's a much more, you can put mana into a stick and cause fire. Like, it's kind of a traditional, that kind of magic system, but I had a really good time with it. I thought that the added element of the crafting and that kind of thing that allows non-magical people to have access to these magical fonts throughout the world was pretty cool. And so, I mean, it's always cool when you get zombie armies and stuff too. So I would say that the magic is definitely interesting. I definitely think that it will start to deepen and expand more as we go along. So I'm excited to see where that goes. Now, on to number 2, characters. So like I said, Emriel Ire is our main character, and so we mainly see things from his perspective. And so there's a lot of things that happen kind of off the page or off screen, if you will, that we don't get to know about because we are only following Emriel. There are some interesting mentor figures in his life around him that I thought were really cool. There's a lot of mysteries about his family and other things that are definitely enticing. But I would say that Emriel, since he's definitely that coming of age type character, can be very frustrating, very annoying, very single-minded, very, you know, the type. But as he goes on and you get to see him evolve and grow and realize that there are real consequences to his decisions, I think it becomes a much more likable character. And I would definitely say that I am on Team M now. Like, I want to see where he goes and how he continues on. And then finally, as far as the plot goes, I don't want to say too much. I've basically kind of given you hints about it. It's kind of this rescue mission where we get to find out that there is a lot more happening below the surface of this world that we're only starting to get glimpses of. And so the epilogue especially kind of gives you this big cliffhanger, and so I'm really excited to see where it goes in book number 2. I would highly recommend you pick up this book, support a debut author. For a debut book, I'm like blown away. Like, it was super good. So my final rating was 4.5 out of 5 stars. Would highly recommend. It is awesome. And the author is super lovely. I've been talking to him a little bit on Twitter, and he is super nice. So that always helps when you have a nice person, and hopefully good things come for him with this book. And so I definitely would recommend you check out Rise of the Mages by Scott Drakeford. And that's all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more bookish stuff like this from me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye!